Greetings, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a subject to you today that's of interest to me. It might be interesting to you or someone you know, and that subject is antivirus software and a couple of interesting details about it from my own personal experience in the IT arena. And I've had quite a few jobs in my life working with IT and software in general, especially uh, defense software, antivirus software, firewalls, hardware, and software, actually. So I want to weigh in on the subject because things have changed. The landscape has changed, the security landscape, and it's not what people are being told, first of all. It's not what they think it is as far as danger and as far as information. And that's kind of going to be the takeaway. It'll be a short video. At the end, I'm going to have hopefully really interesting point about how information and antivirus connect. But so back in a little bit of history, back in the very late 80s and early 90s, computers were a new frontier for a lot of people. The personal computer made its debut, its appearance for the first time in mainstream households. So there were no real viruses to speak of. There was no internet to speak of until there was. At some point, there was internet. There were programs and software and tools and things, and people began, chatting online, using bulletin board systems, and some unscrupulous people figured out they could leverage this. They could leverage the usability of software standards that people trusted already. People were without hesitation to download things in the beginning because they were fun and useful. All the stuff that you could find was really cool. So unfortunately, that doesn't last. So people took advantage because they are mean sometimes, because they are hungry sometimes. I mean, that's a different conversation, but they did. So viruses appeared in the 90s, pretty much in the 90s, in the late 90s especially. They got really bad, and they began to develop an entire market segment, kind of, where espionage between corporations would, on the down low, hire virus writers, bad software developers to attack other companies, and you started seeing things like ransomware, some really nasty stuff that would just encrypt your entire computer. It wouldn't delete it to be malicious. It would actually hijack it and tell you to give it your credit card number before it would unlock it, and then of course your stuff was already gone. But anyway, you ended up with a couple of classes of hackers. Basically, you had what were called black hat hackers, the evil ones, or the ones who are malicious or criminals, basically. And then you had the white hat hackers. Well, they do what's called pen testing. They go around and they say, well, we're going to test your system and we're not going to do any harm, but we're going to see what vulnerabilities you have. We're going to write software. We're going to do, intrusions on purpose and record what we find. So, all right, well, you're starting to get into an area where you're creating an industry of problems. Even in the best case, on the best day, these so-called pen testers, the white hat hackers, the good viruses or whatever, the antivirus companies who employ these people, they're basically the entire industry is based on the expectation of there being a problem. There needs to be a problem, or there's no opportunity for them. So, not to discuss economics too much in this video, but that's bad business, and that's happening in other segments too, but not to digress. So back to the subject of viruses. There's a very fundamental concept at play in any computer network, especially the internet. There's nothing really different about the internet as far from any personal network. It's called a local area network, a LAN. Not to get too technical, but when you have a network, information is meant to flow. Okay, by design, it must. Information, files, data, whatever protocol you're using, the entire purpose, the overarching ultimate purpose of the network is to communicate data and information from point A to point B. So you can actually reduce the entire idea of viruses and antivirus software to a category of hostile anti-information technology is what it is. It's meant to either destroy, delete, or block, or hijack, or ransom information which impedes its progress. It creates a barrier in some way, or deletes it completely. So this is an interesting idea if you look at what else is connected to this segment of anti-information, and they all have the same thing in common. All the technologies that branch off from this idea, such as security, firewalls, all of the businesses and people and personnel and licensing and background checks and requirements, the entire universe of security, computer security, data security, cybersecurity, is based on the idea that information should not flow, or it should be selective. If we're being honest, it's about less. It's about less flowing of information in some way, a very selective way to do it. So what did I just say about networks? Well, the whole purpose of any computer network is to transmit information without impediment. So now you have multiple problems fighting each other. You have an authority saying, well, this should be sent, this shouldn't be sent, and we're going to try to manage this and manage that, and we're going to create, permissions and licensing, and we're going to partition things, and we're going to firewall things. We're going to have, viruses and antiviruses, and we're going to have, antivirus companies, which may or may not be employing pen testers that write software on the down low. So now we have this big, huge mess that boils down to what I just said: factors that impede the flow of information. Whatever team you're on, whatever business you work for, whatever your beliefs or opinions or morals are regarding software, viruses, and cybersecurity, the purpose of the network has not changed. It doesn't care about your beliefs. Information is meant to flow. Okay, and when you stop that for any reason, when you write programs or you create hardware that is meant to channel, dam, or block information, what you're doing is you're defeating the purpose on some level. And the only way you could possibly not do that is if you are some unquestioned authority with, infinite wisdom that just decides automatically for everybody what information is visible and what isn't, which you are not. I'm just going to be clear about that. So we need to get back to basics. I'm going to wrap up this video. The point is getting back to the idea that the spice must flow, if you will. The information is meant to get around, and it's not supposed to be over commercialized to the point where it's such a huge legal concern. It's a security concern. We've got all these secrets. We've got all these, hidden database. It's a big mess now, and it's all because of this technology, such as firewalls, antivirus, and things, and more the psychology of it, right? The fear factor, the fear mongering around this industry, an entire industry based on fear mongering, telling people, if you don't buy our product, you're in danger, your information's in danger. And really what they're doing is they're blocking information. Anyway, I've gone on and on. So if you have questions, please reach out to me at whitehotrobot@gmail.com. And I hope you have a great day. Thank you.